The significance of oil to Russia cannot be overstated. It is both one of the country's greatest sources of income and refined to produce the fuel that Russia's forces need for so much of the equipment they use in Ukraine. Without refined oil, Russia lacks everything from the diesel that makes its tanks run to gasoline for its people, aviation fuel for its jets, and even lubricants that keep much of its equipment in good condition. And when Russia is being deprived of its oil money, it can't even build the equipment that runs on these refined products. That knowledge makes the last few days especially devastating for Russia. In a double blow to Vladimir Putin's Ukraine invasion, Ukraine has once again struck deep inside Russia, and at the same time, China appears to be distancing itself from Russia in a way that could prove pivotal. Ukraine's strike. On 11 November 2025, reports indicated that Ukraine executed a flurry of strikes the previous evening, all targeted at Russia's oil infrastructure. Among the targets were the refinery in the Saratov refinery, which appears to have become a particular drone target for Ukraine, as well as the Orenburg refinery in the Orenburg Oblast. In addition, Ukraine struck at a sea oil terminal in the occupied region of Crimea, specifically in the port city of Feodosia, which Russia uses to transport oil out of the country and to its remaining list of oil customers. All three strikes warrant attention, though it is the Saratov hit that arguably exposes Russia in more ways than one. According to the Moscow Times, the attack on the Saratov refinery during the early hours of 11 November represented at least the fifth strike this fall on that facility. Extended across all of 2025, the plant has reportedly been hit 7 times. In its official version, Russia's Ministry of Defense claimed its air defenses had intercepted 37 drones, 8 of those over the Saratov region, but it offered no acknowledgement of any actual damage at the refinery. Instead, the regional governor, Roman Busargin, said that Ukrainian drones injured 1 civilian and shattered windows in several homes without disclosing whether the refinery itself had been struck. Meanwhile, Ukraine's general staff contradicted that narrative, posting on Telegram a photograph showing a large fire at the refinery and stating a series of explosions were recorded, after which a massive fire was observed in the area of the target. We thus do not yet know the full scale of the damage at Saratov, but we know Ukraine's drones reached their target. And this target is strategically important. As Ukraine's general staff points out, Saratov produces around 20 types of refined oil products, including gasoline, diesel, technical sulfur, and vacuum gas oil. These products supply Russian occupier units fighting in Ukraine, meaning the refinery is directly tied to Russia's war effort. In 2023, the facility processed about 4.8 million metric tons of crude oil. Distance is no barrier. The Saratov refinery lies around 370 miles east of the Ukrainian front line. Yet Ukraine's long-range drones and missiles are now striking targets all over Russia. That brings us to the strike at Orenburg. The Orenburg refinery appears even larger than the Saratov facility. According to the Kyiv Independent, the refinery has a capacity of about 6.6 million tons of crude oil per year and produces more than 30 types of products: gasoline, diesel, aviation fuel, kerosene oils. On 11 November, Ukraine's general staff announced, as part of reducing the enemy's offensive potential and complicating the supply of fuel and ammunition to the military units of the occupiers, units of the defense forces of Ukraine hit the facilities of the Orenburg oil refinery in the state. Orenburg region. Importantly, the statement added that one of the primary oil processing units was hit. In combining the capacities of Saratov and Orenburg 4.8 meters tons plus 6.6 meters tons equals roughly 11.4 meters tons. Ukraine may have forced a substantial volume offline in a single night. assuming full operational impact. Ukraine's third strike focused on the sea oil terminal in Feodosia, Crimea, at the site of the marine oil terminal used by Russia for supplying fuel and lubricants to the occupied parts of southern Ukraine. Ukraine's general staff said tanks at the site, likely filled with refined oil products destined for Russian forces or occupied territories, were hit or destroyed. Taken together, Ukraine delivered a swift 1-2-3 blow, 2 major refineries plus a key export terminal. With oil being the lifeblood of Russia's military and economy, the impact is severe. Over recent months, Ukraine has ramped up strikes on Russian refining capacity, oil storage and export infrastructure, all aimed at crippling Russia's ability to support its war effort. According to RBC Ukraine, Russia has activated reserve refinery capacity to mitigate the impact, but sources estimate that Ukraine's attacks disabled at least 20% of Russia's refinery capacity, and overall output dropped by around 6% in one recent assessment. Economically, Russia is paying the price. With fewer refined products available, exports fall, domestic fuel prices rise, public discontent grows. Infrastructure under attack inside Russia amplifies this pressure. As noted, several of Russia's refineries have been hit repeatedly in this campaign. China's move. In parallel to Ukraine's physical strikes, Russia is also facing a strategic economic blow. One of its key customers is stepping back. On 11 November 2025, Reuters reported that the Chinese refiner Yanchang Petroleum, backed by a provincial government, has submitted a crude oil tender for December mid-February that seeks non-Russian oil. That is, the company is avoiding Russian crude after regular purchases. A separate Newsweek article states that Yanchang has stopped purchasing Russian oil, according to trader sources. Yanchang, located in the landlocked northern province of Shaanxi, has an annual crude import quota of up to 26 million barrels and a processing capacity of 348,000 barrels per day. Its prior regular shipments included Russian ESPO and Sokol blends. The move is aligned with a broader trend. Chinese state oil companies and some Indian refiners have paused buying Russian oil amid concerns about secondary sanctions following recent U.S. capping measures against Russian majors. Rosneft and Lukoil. Why does this matter? Russia's crude oil exports are a major source of revenue. Around 20% of China's energy imports historically came from Russia. With major buyers stepping back, Russia's war economy supply chain is under pressure, especially when its refining base is under kinetic attack. The broader context and what this means. Oil matters to Russia, not just for sale, but for war fighting. Supplies of gasoline, diesel, aviation fuel, lubricants, these are what keep tanks rolling, jets flying, vehicles moving. Damage to refining capacity and loss of export customers both strike at the root of Russia's war economy. As the transcript put it, Russia is making fewer of these products because so many of its refineries are offline. In the short term, the immediate impact is felt domestically in Russia. Rising fuel prices, shortages in some regions, notably occupied Crimea, and growing pressure on the government to subsidize, refocus fuel supply for the domestic market rather than exports. In the medium term, businesses and foreign buyers will increasingly see Russia as a less reliable supplier of fuels and refined products. That may shift global trade flows. In the long term, if Ukraine sustains consistent strikes and export markets dry up, Russia faces a structural issue in its oil business. Experts estimate that Russian refining capacity has been significantly degraded, though precise figures vary. In short, the war's dynamics are being shaped not just on the front line, but deep inside Russia's industry. Fuel is an Achilles heel, and with China signaling it may pivot away from Russian oil, Russia's options are narrowing. For President Vladimir Putin, this sets a difficult calculus. The damage to refinery infrastructure by Ukrainian drones, combined with shrinking export customers like China's Yanchang, means his war machine faces both supply-side and demand-side shocks. And while Russia still has vast crude oil stocks and the ability to export raw crude, that is a diminishing strength when refining and getting fuel to where it's needed militarily or domestically is at risk. The two developments, Ukraine hitting refineries inside Russia and China stepping back from Russian crude, don't just coincide, they amplify each other. The strikes reduce Russia's ability to refine oil. The steep buyer pullback shrinks, where Russia can sell refined or crude output. If current patterns continue, Russia's energy war engine may increasingly sputter.